take notes where you are? Oh, good. You're recording it.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, I will take notes. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, we should approve the May 6th minutes, which was really simple. And
Is that the site walk?
yeah,
Okay.
and the June 3rd minutes, Chris wasn't here for, and I guess Shayna wasn't here either, so we only have 2 votes. Maybe we don't have to, not legal. We have to have 3.
I move that we approve the May 6th.
Oh, okay.
Minutes.
I'll second.
You were there and we had 3, so Jane was there. So.
Yeah, okay. I'll
Second.
oh, I seconded. So,
Yes.
anybody in agreement?
Good. At least we can get those approved.
It's okay.
June. Yeah, we might have to wait on the June ones, right?
Yeah.
Only. And Shayna are the only ones that were. Oh, it's just the 2 of you. Oh, so we might need
Audience
at least
here.
3.
Audience here.
Audie was here, so we
Except
need her.
she's not present at the moment. So yeah. Okay, so we'll shelve the June 3rd approval. Move on. And so actually, I guess did we vote on that? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Any minutes?
Yeah.
Shayna, you approve?
I approve the May 6th minutes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so I was gonna briefly just go over the town forest notes that we made. Chris, I took yours and put it in a document on the drive.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
And I guess the main thing we want to do, if everybody's had a chance to look at the photos and everything, the main thing I guess we want to do is figure out what we should do next. What are the action items here? So, and I guess Chris's notes were pretty concise in terms of like forestry options. So which are slim.
Yeah, I only did that because we obviously a couple of other larger town parcels that we did.
Yeah,
tree growth plans on and some harvesting and stuff. But that doesn't mean we have to do that here. It's more just I know that world a little bit, so I commented.
Yeah.
K counts, don't count me out on that stuff,
What was the funding mechanism for that work?
I don't remember,
I think it was self-funded in the sense that
I thought we got grants to do
the
actual tree growth plans.
the plans, yeah.
And then once you get and then you get money out of the harvest, pay for that. So
Yeah.
she got some money which went into rec or conservation probably into the rec fund, maybe. I'm not sure where the money went, but Pam may know where they got those grants to see if any of that's still available to not have to pay for the tree growth plan.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, you mean the money from the harvest? Yeah.
Well, no, just they got a grant to do the actual tree growth plans, which cost money.
Yeah, that was like 2011, no, so that was a long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, those plans are gonna be, it'll be a few $1,000s to do a tree growth plan, a decent one. Whether we wanted to do that, I'm just not sure what people most people in town probably don't even know the town owns them.
You're right.
So what agenda should we drive, or what would you think? What would we think the general Topsham populace would want to do with that property? I have no.
Yeah, to me, it probably has more value for purpose than it does for as an actual tree growth.
That can create trails if it's done right.
Right.
It can create access points so people can get in if you do it right. But it's not. See it. It's just an option.
Yeah.
And we talked about it the last time we did the trip.
Yes.
Plus years ago.
Yeah, it hasn't changed much.
No, so I mean, it's more. I'd be interested to hear more. Oh, you didn't end up.
I did not.
You for Shayna's perspective or your perspective on, access is always the challenge to that property. We have to go across Scott's property, and the access across town land is great. So you need someone with some energy and desire to build trails. Yeah, if you wanted to have trails out there.
Yeah, you'd probably need some sort of block bridge to get there.
Yeah, yeah, parking, I mean, where do people park, you know, you
Yeah.
can park, I mean, that's a low traffic road, people could just park on the side.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, to me, it seems like, it might be worth just keeping it, for the future, because we don't know what other properties in that area might end up being town owned at some point.
Absolutely.
It's, you know, so, I don't know, there's a development, on the, what's it, west side of the road, that I don't think is completed yet. Maybe it is.
Oh, is that like that Paxton Woods or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's completed yet. So you know, what happened on the other side was basically they basically decided not to finish the development because they had to cross, you know, stream. Just said it wasn't worth it. So we ended up with land on the other side, and then I don't know what happened with Scott's property. So that could be a wild card if ETLT, I know, has talked to him about conserving it. So if that happens, there may be opportunities to just go it's not his property and get access to it.
Mhm.
Still. So there,
Yeah,
down money. Shayna, what do you think? You went on the sidewalk.
I agree with Victor. I think, like, at the moment, it doesn't seem worth the cost or time to do any kind of management plan, but holding on to it to see what happens in the area moving forward doesn't seem like a bad plan. And there was enough vertical activity and wildlife activity out there to holding on to it for conservation at the moment, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, and it might be good as part of, you know, if the land trust would require the land around there. You could gang on to like a survey, if they were gonna do a survey of their property, they could add on, because that was another thing. My son and I walked out to try to find,
another pin, yeah,
based on mapping I had, I couldn't find that property we walked to. It might have been there, it might have just been a pin, it just looked like a stick, you know, but
Yeah.
without being flat, you don't know, so, you know, knowing what you own is always important. Having some,
Yeah.
where your boundaries are, but I don't think we need to. I didn't see any evidence of that timber trespass or anything. It's obvious.
yeah, we went, so northeast, is that right? Get this right?
Yeah.
Basically north, and we didn't see anything either. It looked like, you know, up to the, basically where we could see the power line cut, there wasn't anything going on. So at least anything significant. Little, you know, ATV to cut through, but we didn't, there's nothing. And there was actually some there were more interesting, wetlands in that stream. And so, and actually some, they're not rare, but some interesting, ground cover, Shayna took some pictures of. So yeah, it's, I think it's worth keeping the property. I just don't think it's worth doing it right at the moment. Yeah, okay.
I think it'd be good. I mean, just thinking back to the natural areas fund, we recommended that. I think that was part of a large, sort of unfragmented
That whole area.
parcels,
Yes.
so it's important.
Yes.
Potentially, there'll be other conservation projects nearby. That may become, you know, trails in the future. So if anyone at the town is saying, hey, we got this land, let me sell, we at least have reason.
Yeah. Can argue that there's no access to it.
There's a lot of that lot. It's pretty difficult
It would be
to do,
difficult.
to do,
Yeah.
to do a lot. And even timber. So,
Yeah, it was interesting because actually the polls, I think that we saw the last time, Steve was with us, were right, because I remember right near the road. And this time that was muddy, but it definitely wasn't.
but we found the other ones.
Yeah, we found
I don't
some,
know if they're,
yeah,
they had egg masses.
yes, yeah, so there was some further up, and then there was some that Shane and I found that were down, you know, way off the road, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I was, so anyway, it's, we probably didn't explore, I guess we didn't explore that far off the road the last time. We kind of went, up towards the other property, once we got down to the, you know, the corner. So, anyway, Okay, we'll basically just, so I guess, the next topic, is, we'll turn it over to Izzy, and see what, she's been doing. Actually, I guess, what did I actually say? Oh, yeah, update them, yeah, never mind. So go ahead, yeah. I actually have 2 agenda items on this, so I didn't know.
So my big summer project, I've done a lot of things while I've been interning here, but my big passion project that I kind of came up with myself is proposing a pollinator park at the transfer station. Again, for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm a rising senior at Bowdoin. I'm majoring in environmental studies and history. I've been interning with the planning department, and I have a very strong interest in urban planning and design. So this has really been a magical internship, to say the least.
Especially with recode going on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, learned a lot from Rico. Anyway, so I'm sure you are all very familiar. The transfer station is really a unique place in Topsham. Of course, there is the solid waste management facility, but there's also a number of recreational spaces that are open to the public. There are a lot of ATV trails here, and the 2 ponds. One of them is stocked by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife annually, and people are encouraged to fish. And then there's also the canine training area and the police shooting range, the pump track. Overall, this is a space that has a lot of dynamic uses and is very like hand-built, down-to-earth place that I think really doesn't expect anything from the public except to treat it with respect and enjoy it. At the transfer station, there are 3 landfills, 2 of which I'm here to talk about today. One of them is 10 acres, and this was like a traditional solid waste trash landfill, and the other is 6 acres, which is out in the back if you take the dirt road by the compost area. And this is filled with paper mill sludge. Both were closed in 1994 as a part of the landfill closure and remediation program under the Maine DEP, and they were capped in 1996. By capped, I mean they were covered in 2 layers of, sorry, let me restart. 2 2-foot layers of compacted clay, so 4 feet total, and then 2 lifts of 9-inch sludge mixture of sand, loam, paper sludge, and nitrogen, so that's 18 inches total. This is not a diagram of our landfill. This is a more modern way of doing it, but this is just kind of a general reference for how it actually is capped. So for us, we have waste and then clay and then sludge and then the grass on top. So this is all just to say that what is in the landfill is not coming to the surface. People are not coming into contact with it. And this is a good thing because there is known PFAS contamination at both sites, not the third one, which was just a wood landfill. So we're not really here to worry about that.
They test for the PFAS?
The DEP did soil core samples.
Oh, they did? Oh,
Mhm.
okay, so they put that, okay.
Yeah.
Do you know if they've done that near the pond that's fish?
Yes, I believe so, which is a bit of a different story. So I did not try to tackle that. But yeah, those fish, it is not recommended that you eat the fish. I believe it's kind of a catch and let it go back free, yeah, kind of situation.
You can keep them on there. It's not catch and release only. You can keep
Right,
fish.
right. I
Yeah,
think,
legally so.
I don't know that it's supposed to.
Yeah.
I've eaten a fish out of there before.
How do you
The
get
farther,
after?
farther one, further down.
Mm.
Connected. Sluice.
Right. Anyway, so I think we all
Figured one was
probably, I'm sure we're
Just
all
one.
familiar with PFAS. Yeah, it's, per and polyfluoroalkyl alkyl substances. They're not good for us. They can build up in our fatty tissue and they persist in the environment forever. They do not degrade quickly. They really don't degrade at all. So I won't go too much into this. This is more for the select board.
Yeah.
I know you are all local experts. So.
Well, right, well.
Anyway, so essentially this land cannot be developed because of the clay cap. It really can't be disturbed, otherwise we'd be looking at a PFAS fiasco. And so I was trying to think, Ed Karen was really motivated to do something with this land that provides some sort of benefit to the public. And so I researched a couple of different paths, and ultimately I landed on building a pollinator park, which would be planting native wildflowers and native plants to support pollination services, as we can't develop this land at all. So might as well kind of balance out some of the development we see in Topsham by supporting local wildlife and beneficial insects.
Izzy, you mentioned someone was, did you say Karen, or did you said someone's name was?
Ed Karen, the solid waste manager.
Oh.
Yeah, Eddie.
Oh, yeah, Eddie.
Yeah. I'm trying to be.
No, it's good. We don't.
Yeah, of course. And so with this, there is a lot of potential for mowing paths through it so that there's pedestrian access, so people could kind of wander through the gardens themselves, or the meadow, however you would like to describe it, and enjoy the meadows as well as supporting local ecology.
Cool. So Ed was okay with blocking paths on the
Mhm.
on the capital?
Yeah, we've been emailing back and forth with the DEP official who runs this program,
Oh.
which it is a full-blown program. There's two
Oh, cool.
former landfills in Maine that have been turned into pollinator parks, so
Oh.
we're not trailblazers. But yeah, we've been emailing and calling
Okay, cool.
our good friend Matthew Young, and we've made sure that everything is.
I work with him.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, funny. Small state. But yeah, he said we're all good to do paths as long as we don't do anything below 6 inches, and that goes for the whole fields.
Yeah, I mean, they mow those, they hay those fields right now.
Mhm.
There's someone that actually comes in and hays at least the back one, just the sludge one, I think. I'm not sure about the one that you can see.
They used to,
I don't know if they shut it down. There's still a sign up there. You walk up there.
yeah.
And they used to spread manure on it and hay it. So obviously, if you're gonna have a, 5-ton tractor, it's okay.
Right,
This
to have people walking. So,
exactly,
Yeah,
right,
okay. I guess that's true, yeah.
I
right.
don't know if do you think they shut it down?
They stopped doing the haying because of contamination. Maybe talked about last time. Anyway, it was in conversation with a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I remember seeing it last year, I think. Might have been 2 years ago. So I was out there biking, not like.
Yeah. That might have been true, yeah.
Maybe not. Last year anyway, so.
Right, so that's actually a perfect segue. As we all know, it's now tall grass and predominantly hay. There's already a host of wildflowers and native plants that Josh and I documented when we went out there for a site visit.
Oh, cool.
So we know that natural plants here are already supported and can grow very nicely there. This is actually a picture I took there on our site visit. And again, I don't think I really need to overemphasize the importance of supporting pollination services, especially amidst climate change and habitat fragmentation and degradation. I think it would be really great to support the little insects and mammals that keep this world going,
Actually, I think there's a lot of open grassland in Topsham. We have a lot of parks, we have a lot of lawns, but I don't know about open grass. I mean, I think of that as.
It's actually really, especially in the eastern United States, I think it is a pretty rare-ish habitat, just because usually succession is in we take over.
You don't know,
Like
you end up with trees.
Yeah.
So much goes.
Yeah, so where meadows can occur, they're usually great for like the base of the food chain, like plants, insects. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Yes.
so this is actually great, because I'm just thinking, wow, this is kind of unique, because we don't have anything similar to this. Yeah.
Anyway, this is my preliminary site plan. This is just a zoomed out, but don't worry, I'm zooming it in. That was just to allow you to gain clearance. This is the 9-acre one. This is the one that you see right as you come in. And then this is the 6-acre one that's out towards the back. This is the wood fill one that we're not really concerned with. In my plan, in my dream world, both of these could be a part of the project, but due to costs of seed mixes, it could be a little costly. So for the purpose of being realistic, I think that this would be the ideal area to do the plan, as this is what you can actually see from the driveway, and it connects right over with the ponds as well. There's already a kind of driveway back here
Right.
for mowing maintenance, so I think it would be good to have, especially if there were to be paths, if emergency services needed to come through, they can easily come around back here. This is a list of the native plants that are in the seed mix that I think would be most cost effective. I have a whole cost analysis that I don't think we need to get into. But if anyone is curious, I'd be more than happy to pull it up, as I did spend quite a bit of time on it. But I think this would be the most cost effective, and this is just, again, a list of what they would be, if anyone is
Actually,
curious.
I have a question.
Certainly.
The pieweed can develop fairly deep roots. Is this, I don't know, I think purple show pieweed is probably the common one. Is that gonna be a problem?
As long as it doesn't penetrate beyond, I think, 6 inches, but again, you have 18 inches of soil until you get to those 4 feet of clay cap.
And the
Right.
clay.
Yeah, it won't go through the clay. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
so it's, there's a little bit of
Okay,
wiggle room there.
okay.
The real thing that we're worried about is just tree growth and
Yes.
shrub growth. Anything with bark, that would be a problem, but not necessarily a plant that is, just a flower. So quick logistics slide. As I said, if we choose this seed mix, and the seed mix is obviously up to the town's discretion, it could be around $10,500 to do the 9-acre lot or site. I have been compiling materials to apply for a non-match grant opportunity through Maine Bee Wellness, which is a nonprofit group that gives out grants to other nonprofits that are working towards supporting bee pollinations. Ideally, the town or whoever takes up the project will begin seeding in the fall, and then again the following spring, so that the seeds have time to stratify and germinate in the cold period. And then after about 3 years, the meadow should look quote unquote complete. This is based off of the Harpswell Gardens. They've done the same thing. They did it in 2017, and they said it took about 3 years for their project to look complete. So I would judge based on the fact that we're pretty similar climates that it would be around the same time for us. As for installation, they just mowed down their grass to the lowest possible level. They didn't till it. They just seeded it by hand. Otherwise, we could till it to 3 inches, and that would be enough to do it. And then as for maintenance, as we already said, it's already being mowed twice a year to prevent tree growth. So we would continue that service. And then if there were going to be paths, they would have to be mowed every 2 weeks just to make sure they're actually there. And then reseeding about every 5 years. So the good thing about this plan is that the majority of the cost is upfront in choosing that seed mix. Otherwise, with maintenance, it's pretty much just what we've already been doing.
Actually,
Watering
What?
needed
Not necessarily,
in
because
the early stages. Okay, I just wondered if there would be sort of maintenance watering needed above and beyond.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
in emergencies, if they really look like they're not doing so hot, then yes. But generally, it should be able to support themselves. And on the seed mix website, it explicitly says they should be able to foster themselves. It should be very low maintenance.
Just where it's highly exposed.
Right.
I don't know if the mechanism would be for actual water.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not sprinkler system.
Public pond.
The pond, the gross pond that's right next to you.
So they're-
Drive in.
But yes, that's pretty much my project. I think, again, we really can't develop this land at all. And as you pointed out, there isn't a lot of grassy meadows in Topsham. I think the majority of the open space would be farmland. And so I think this project could really be done at any scale or cost that the town would like it to do. What I neglected to mention earlier is it doesn't have to be the whole 9 acres. It could be just a couple little areas alongside the paths, or it could be done in phases. There's, I think, a lot of flexibility here. And so ultimately, I think it just really feeds into what Eddie's been doing with the built by hand recreational kind of atmosphere there. And yeah, I think it just would really be like a feel good project that could just bolster the already multitude of community services that are provided there.
It'd be great to have some interpretive signage there as well.
Mhm,
So,
absolutely.
so as the plants grow and the pollinators arrive.
Yeah.
Teach people about
Yeah.
chain and just
100%.
how.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
Be great
definitely been in the
education
back of my
community.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a great idea.
Hey, Izzy.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, good to hear from you. I'm glad to hear you had a good summer.
Thank you.
So we've been talking for a while about a native plant demonstration site in town. And I was kind of inspired by Brunswick's garden walks, and I'm wondering, did you look into maybe any kind of partnerships or grants with our local garden club and thinking about like native landscaping and how this could maybe be with some signage, like Angela's saying, some kind of demonstration site of how you could improve pollinator habitat in your own yard? Just wondering if you thought about that at all.
Yeah, definitely. So I have thought a lot about local partnerships, and unfortunately, I had to put a bit of a pause in that process because the weeks went by really fast, and I realized I needed to nail down the logistics before I got into partnerships. But that was something that I was looking into a lot when it came to ongoing maintenance. As for signage, that was also something that we talked about a lot. In my initial proposal, I decided not to bring it up because it would be added cost when it's already a bit of money just to put it together. And the summer has gone by way too fast. I'm already feeling very sentimental in my last week. But yeah, I really would love for there to be educational signage. A lot of my inspiration for this project is drawn off of the Maine Audubon Society in Falmouth, which is practically in my backyard. So I grew up, yeah, learning about birds and pollinators walking through those trails. And I think that that would be a magnificent opportunity for Topsham, and to bring that in would be amazing. It again just would be extra cost, but ultimately that's up to the town, not up to me. And I hadn't considered putting up information as to how to support pollinator services in your own yard, but I agree that this would be a great opportunity for that, and I would love to work that into the projects now.
Yeah, I think.
Thank you.
Certainly.
I think once the wildflowers get established, I think it would be a better time to put signage there, because we know what we're looking at. We
Right.
don't know, some things will want to grow here and not there, and whatever. But then, and also, yeah, I was just thinking that so it's a kind of a second phase. It's like get it established, and then maybe initially just a sign that says under construction and wildflower meadow, just leave it at that, and then later put in more detailed signage and explanation how to do this in your own yard.
100%.
And if there is successful growth, it might leverage funding for signage.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
Demonstrate usage and the ability to reach out to the community with that information. It seems like an easy sell.
Yeah, I definitely think phases would be the way to go. I think asking for 10,000 upfront might be a little much, but again, like the seed bags themselves for the seed mix is only $43.50 per pound. So you can really do the math and figure out how much you would like to do, or not you, but the town. I mean, it could be any scale or cost.
So you're talking about planting from seed. Shanna, you had sent around an email from an individual who had seedlings, which seems like it's just a lot more effort, in terms of hand planting, but is there any value to doing that in specific areas? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would be a great question for Josh. I'm not as
Yeah.
knowledgeable in plants as he is. I think part of it is that it did not seem like that was a donated offer. I think it would
That's
still
clear.
cost us. Yeah, it wasn't quite clear to me either. I think that it would just, yeah, it would be added labor that we would have to find some people who are really willing to get their hands dirty, literally. But
Yeah, I don't,
I think there's like no real reason why we couldn't do that. I think it's totally a viable option. I just think it would be a little bit simpler and potentially cheaper to do it with just, large scale, like commercial bags of seed.
Yeah, I think cost, for the, cost to do plugs would be like to cover that amount of big plug. Be
Yeah. 9 acres.
be significant, yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So potentially the seedlings could be, or the plugs could be used later to supplement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Alone.
I love that idea. Yeah, especially if there were walking paths again along the paths themselves. Yeah.
No,
yeah, I mean, I've certainly planted seeds from, plants from plugs. It takes a while. I mean, the thought of doing 1,000 of those or even 500 is like, that's like days of work. I mean, unless you're set up with like the farmers have, and they have a whole system where they can just, the plugs come down on a conveyor belt and you just, as you ride along,
they also need water plugs.
And they also need water.
Whereas the seeds will just kind of establish at their own pace,
Right.
just like they
Yes.
do,
Yes.
in nature.
Yeah, if they don't get water initially, they'll just wait until they do. Yeah, so. Okay, so that sounds great, actually.
Yeah, it's a fabulous idea.
So now,
Thank you.
I
Thank
guess
you.
we'll have to sort of shepherd this along. It's not gonna happen, so.
Are you going to present this to the select?
I did last week.
Oh, you already did?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did they have for questions?
Let's see. They first confirmed that it would be native plants and wildflowers and asked which ones they would be.
Yep.
And they said, let's see. One member of the select board asked about what would be the impacts of mowing it down twice a year. And, it's just, that just has to happen either way. And of course, they're perennial, so they'll always come back. And I think that was about it.
That was about it. But I will say they were very enthusiastic about it. And at the end, the chairman, he was pretty excited about it. And it seemed like very positive.
I didn't know that you'd present on until you just said this last week, so I think they last week was gonna give a couple of suggestions on things you would ask that maybe would be questions they would ask. What really to cost and mowing twice a year. And so they do mow it twice a year now?
Yep, Eddie mows it
Oh, he
already.
does?
twice a year,
Oh,
yeah, because we
yeah.
have to preserve the.
You have to,
gap,
yeah, you
right.
can't let trees grow. So.
Yeah, and Izzy's been pretty good about making sure that it's gonna live past their stay here. So yes, so Ed Ed is super supportive. He's all about it. He takes great care of the transfer station, and he was all about mowing paths through it and kind of keeping an eye on it. He loves the project. And then also I'll be basically taking it on once Izzy's left us for the summer. So
Eddie's supporting it's really important.
yes, of
Things
course.
like that moving it.
Yeah.
He's done a lot out there at the transfer station and that whole property. I know the select board and the town support that, so having Eddie behind it is really, really a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes, look at it all day long.
And he'd be the one maintaining it.
So, one thing we'd have to do, we're under the planning board, how our process goes forward. I guess we can make a recommendation recommendation to the select board that they put 10,500, money or
Yeah,
whatever we think it's gonna take in the budget for next year.
Yeah. There's also,
Another option is, I know you recommended the bigger field. A few thousand, you could do the back field, just not as many people are gonna see it, be it back there. You could do, if they said, how about with 5,000, okay, we'll do part. So,
yeah, actually, we could certainly, there's also the, it's still there, I just don't know, exactly what, what state it's in. There's the, Community Development Fund, which, had money. I think most of it went towards the community center project, but every year we're supposed to sort of recommend that committee is quite a defunct at the moment, but anyway, it's supposed to recommend ways to use how much we should raise and what we should use it for community development, and this could certainly be one of those projects. So we have to reconvene the last group of members. Me and Scott Libby were the only two I remember that are still around who are on the committee. So,
I mean, it'd be great if we could get. I know you're on your last week, and you probably got 100 things to do before the end of the week. But where could you get grant funding to support this? Is there, funding would defer the costs? Maybe we can do the whole 9 acres. Town chips in 5,000, you get 5,000 grants.
yeah.
How big of a move there is amongst, the pollinator societies or whatever. And I know it's a big deal.
You had one.
You said.
You said it one, yeah.
Right, yeah, and this website, or not website, excuse me, this organization, they really do, like, they lay out every single step for the application process, what they're looking for.
Oh, all right.
And they, like, we've emailed and they expressed support, they're very interested in funding the project, but it's only up to $3,000.
Well,
And it's not,
all right.
it's
not
between 500 and 3,000 too. It's not guaranteed 3,000, but yeah, they do make it very simple, and they make it explicit that they don't want the process to be complicated, because why would you complicate giving out money for supporting pollinators? But I have been looking into a lot of other sites, and there are other grant opportunities out there, but I think it wouldn't be quite as simple. And I don't want to burden Josh too much once I'm gone.
With
But
grant applications.
right. But yeah, I think that there totally is money out there for this, and I would hate for all the money to come straight from the town. I really am trying to put together as much as I can for additional funding to come through.
Sweet.
But any other places where you all think funding could come from, I'd really appreciate it, because again, I've only been here a few weeks. I don't exactly know where all the money in Topsham goes to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, in terms of town funds,
In lieu
Lou is pretty flexible, although we did write a policy a couple of years ago that restricted it to durable, I can't remember the words I used. But anyway, it's kind of infrastructure it's land or infrastructure that's going to be around here forever, that's for conservation purposes.
Oh.
This is kind of like that. It wasn't what we were thinking of, but it kind of fits in that category.
what if BTLT would be interested?
The other people I know who do this kind of thing, but I don't know if they have grants, is the Native Plant Trust. They're of Massachusetts. But I don't think they have seed mixes, but I don't think they actually have a big grant. I don't think they have grants.
I
Yeah,
think if you could we can get a good portion of the seed donated, Eddie would find it to get it planted.
yeah.
I was spread. Yeah. Spread.
What about the Maine Outdoor Heritage Fund?
Oh,
I deal with them for marine related work, but if there's a community component. I'd have to look at they have 4 different categories in which you can apply for grants. I'd have to look at the categories and see if this qualifies. But I mean, they routinely give out 10, 20 projects. It has to be sponsored by a state agency, but I wonder if Inland Fisheries and Wildlife would pick this up, or ACF, Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry's Maine Natural Areas Program. I'd be interested in that.
Would the DEP count?
I'm not sure that the jurisdiction makes sense for the DEP. Well, if it's landfill, maybe so. Converted landfill.
It is, it would be under
I'll ask
the,
Matt that question. That's a good one.
well, yeah, he did express support for it, and he said the DEP would be interested in supporting it, because it does technically fall under the landfill closure and remediation program,
Okay,
the remediation part, of course.
Yeah.
And given that this is a program that's been done in 2 other Maine municipalities, I think technically it would count maybe for that purpose.
Do you know how Oxford funded theirs?
Well, theirs is like a 1.5 acre
Yeah. Okay.
lot, so it was like $200. I don't know specifically where they got their $200
Okay,
from,
well,
but
that's-
it's a completely different scale.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
in that regard, we are trailblazing a bit. But I mean, their gardens, it's absolutely stunning. I think it's really impressive, and it's exactly what I was envisioning for Topsham. So if ever anyone is at the Hartsville transfer station for any reason, should absolutely check it out.
Actually, I go by there quite a bit. There's the Cliff Trail.
Exactly,
So
right.
where is it related to the in relation to the Cliff Trail?
So the Cliff Trail entrance is right behind the town hall,
Right,
right?
yeah.
So if you go literally within the town hall property, there's kind of a little area to go up the hill on the right side of the building up to the transfer station.
Yeah.
And you just have to keep going, past the transfer station, up the hill to the truck unloading weighing station, and just off to the left, there's the gardens, and there's a little loop that goes through the middle of it.
Yep.
And it's really like, it was crazy going there and seeing exactly what I wanted to do existing. It was very inspirational for me.
So they did that in 2017. Okay. I'll have to check it out next one there.
Yeah.
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 We usually go in the spring or fall.
Field trip, yeah, definitely.
I'm never there in the summer, so. I probably just don't see the flowers.
so I think Maine Outdoor Heritage Fund might be a good option. One of the categories deals with management of public lands, public access and outdoor recreation sites.
Oh, that sounds perfect.
So, if you have time to ask Matt Young about that, there are 2 funding appeals, fall and spring, for the Maine Outdoor Heritage Fund.
Okay.
He could at least indicate if that's something that, he could get behind as an agency sponsor. That could have
Yeah,
potential for the next funding round, which is in.
okay. I definitely have time to send him another email.
Okay.
He sometimes takes a little while to get back to me, but last time we had a really pressing question, Eddie just called him up and said, it's imperative that you answer us by the end of the day, and sure enough, we got an answer.
Add your
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta push.
And he, I think, will go to some lengths for this project, so I definitely think we could figure that out by the end of the week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Start the conversation.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's, yeah, I'm excited for that. Thank you.
Shana, what's your idea about a field trip?
Oh, I just want to go see it. I'm hoping maybe Izzy will go with me someday from school.
100%. I'd love to, yeah. I've gone to show off a bit with other Bowdoin students. We took them on like a site visit of the transfer station. And if this got really some legs to it, I would love to show off some more. So that's good for me.
Nice.
Cool.
Well, I think we have the largest pump track in the state out there right now. So
Is it
we can have the
really?
largest pollinator park.
Good to be known for something.
And I think the other thing, if there was some flexibility, I know you did a lot of research, you came up with the seed mix. If there's some flexibility on that seed mix that would still work, that allow for some flexibility on cost. I mean, I think we should probably just try to go for whatever we think is right,
Mhm.
but if there's pushback, not. If there's pushback, is there options to allow Eddie to go try to procure some native seed mix that may not be perfect? Because if Eddie wants something, he's probably get. If we can't get him the money of the board, but he'll go to the board and say, come on.
Yeah, I mean, he may just stick it in, slip it into his budget at some point.
Yeah.
There's that.
$10,000 line items,
Yeah.
that's not gonna be much.
Anyway,
Nice.
great, yeah, this is.
Good work, isn't it?
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did a lot of work on this. This is amazing.
This is about a month of work, so, yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Could you share your presentation for us to put on our shared drive?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll do
Like
that
to
right
know.
now before I forget. Okay, so then, oops, what do we need to do? Take me off of.
You can also
Panelists.
just email it to me, Izzy, as the secretary. I can add it to our drive when I do the minutes.
Okay, certainly.
Thank
Speaking
you.
of minutes, Shayna, actually, since you brought it up, the planning board, I believe Don and Scott wanted to receive the minutes from the different committees and commissions. So if you send me the minutes, which they usually do anyway, I will do that.
Okay.
Josh,
Um,
when I email Irene, is it easier for me to just CC somebody else so you don't have to be a middleman, or?
I would send it to me first. I don't wanna, I mean, it might be fine, and if it is, I'd let you know next time, but I don't want. I don't want to just be like, okay, send it straight to the planning board.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I
I'll make sure-
usually, I send them
Sorry?
out, I send them out after they've been approved as a
Okay.
PDF. So I will CC you whenever that happens. So you'll be able to get the May ones. Since we approved those tonight.
Okay, yeah, no, that sounds great.
Also, while we're on that subject, we usually give an update to the select board sometime in the fall. Is there you're probably too new to know, but they probably have mentioned it, but I'm wondering when that should, when that should happen, so.
I can definitely
Yeah, find out.
have an answer for it.
Sometimes it happened, I mean, we used to do it in like October or November, and then all of a sudden it was like, I had to have it by early September. It was like, whoa, what happened? So I usually go through all the, minutes and agendas and just sort of pull together, what have we been doing, and submit that. But, and I'd be happy to do that, but I just kind of want a heads up as to.
Okay, I will see if I can get you some info on that, so it doesn't take us by surprise.
Yeah. Okay, last major item was discussion about changes to codes. And there really aren't too many that affect the rural area at all, so which is good, in a sense. And I don't know where the CPIC is in their process of thinking about the requests I made, but that's another topic.
Well, no, actually, on that note, that's clear. So you guys weren't the only ones who had the question about like why solar wasn't.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, and there were actually other people who had that same concern and question. So actually, Sky is going to be having a meeting with the commission and with Don and Scott to kind of discuss that, to see like where that is and why that's happening, and if that's set in stone or still. So more information on that to come, and so as soon as I know, I will send that information to you guys so you can, because is a valid question, right?
Yeah, well, we worked on the conservation, the history of this is that basically people who are now basically the members of the Energy Committee and the Conservation Commission, basically Steve Pelletier and I at the time worked quite a bit to come up with that ordinance language And we thought about all the different, trade-offs. Is it worth cutting down, forest in order to put up solar cells? And we were like, that's not, we don't really like that idea. But when you look at the carbon balance, it's just like within a few months, you've recovered the carbon that you lost, unless it's a really, really nice forest, which doesn't, most of the cases are not, that's not true here. So, an old growth forest or something like that.
Mhm.
So anyway, we kind of batted around, we spent months trying to figure out what was the best balance of like, where should we allow it, where should we not, how big is whatever. And we came up with that there are places in R3 where it makes sense maybe to do this, especially if, the choice of the landowner is sell the property, develop it themselves or whatever, or put a solar array on it, get the lease, payments from it. And so, and then, but then also we said, well, wait a second, there are places where we don't want it. And so we put in, rather than just saying you can't do it in the habitat, in the high value habitat areas. I don't know why we, I think it was Rob who pushed back on that in saying that maybe that's not the best approach of like, no, simply saying no. But that's where we came up with the habitat mitigation fee, which is pretty substantial. And but yet the solar developers said, oh, yeah, well, we have to pay that kind of thing in Massachusetts, so it's not a big deal here. It was like, okay, so if you're not too concerned about it, we upped it a little bit more. I mean, we just, it was like, okay, if that's not a problem. I mean, they weren't like, oh, we're happy to pay this. They were just like, we're kind of expecting this. This is the kind of thing we expected. So, but yet it's an incentive to not put it in our high value habitat areas. So I don't know. I mean, that was
Is it allowed in all R1? Is it?
Well, we only in R1, I forget, there was a very small, I forget the details now, but we had various different sizes.
Okay.
And it was basically by square footage or,
Right.
area rather than by wattage, because wattage is constantly changing.
Sure.
Each panel, every year the same size panel gets, 20% or I don't know. Anyway,
Victor, just each zoning area has requirements for the size of solar that can be in it.
yeah. And
So
so-
there's like a home size and then utility and large scale.
yeah,
And then
and
it's tied to zoning.
yeah, so for primary uses, really only R2 and R3 are viable. I mean, R2 was relatively small size ones. It, I think it was under well, it's roughly under a megawatt in R2. And so anyway, the R3 was the only place. R3 in the industrial areas and some of the commercial areas where and this is for primary use. So this is where the land, whoever owns it is not using the power themselves. It's basically for sale or for other people's use. And so anyway,
And we only have the one that's on
right.
solar, the one that's out for disc golf course.
Yes,
Be on
yes.
Road.
Well, there's two actually. There's that one and there's one on 201, which I don't know if it's complete yet, but it's certainly, yeah.
There's gonna be one off 190.
And there's one off of 196, exactly. That I don't know. I thought I saw the roads cleared, but I don't know how much they've done so far.
Nothing yet.
Okay.
I just noticed it's been.
Josh, we're gonna get more feedback from Dawn and Scott on why they're putting it as a conditional use or not.
Why and whether, so it's still in the feedback section right now, so nothing has been like set in stone yet.
Yeah.
So basically this is the right time to bring up those concerns.
Are they gonna come to this meeting or do we need to go to one of their meetings? Is that
Ideally, they are having, these like copy and code meetings. There is also an online feedback form, that will go like directly to code people, and, that way they can address concerns that people have. And that's on the website, under the CPIC, section. So, and it's like a big button in the corner.
Yeah, I was, so I haven't submitted any comments yet, but I was going to, and I just thought I'd get sort of a feeling of the commission as to whether I can do it personally, just having had the history on this, or whether I should just say, oh, by the way, the commission also feels. So if you don't, that's fine too.
I think it'd be more powerful if we did, so. Not to take anything away. from
That's
it,
fine.
because if the commission were to, maybe we weren't here when you and Steve were,
Yeah.
there's an existing code that exists on it.
Oh, yeah.
Allows it in the
Yeah.
R3 zone,
Yeah.
which was supported by TCC
We
back.
went through the
when it was-
planning board, we went through, TCC supported it. Yeah, it was,
I'd just like to know more about why I don't know that we need to make some big formal statement. I'd just like to know, why are they changing it?
yeah.
What's the purpose behind it?
Yeah.
And they may have very good reasons for it, or they may say, well, we didn't realize it was such a big deal, we'll just leave it as primary use.
Yeah.
And the discussion, we don't have to
Yeah.
write a big position paper,
So I could, on the part of the committee, I could just submit feedback saying, that we're not sure this is a great idea. Why has this been changed?
Yeah, maybe just a question.
Yeah, and then,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, that would be good.
okay, I'll do that, and then hopefully we'll get some feedback. I know I've already asked members of the CPIC, and they've said we have nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Was not in our discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sky's doing.
So-
And also Sky reiterated that too.
So Dawn's planning board is Scott, this is Scott Libby.
Scott Libby is a.
So that those are the two you mentioned, Dawn and Scott.
I believe that she's gonna be speaking with them. I think she also mentioned that she's gonna be speaking with, people that drafted it.
Oh, the consultant.
So it's not coming from CPIC, is it coming from the planning board? This recommendation?
No, I don't think it's.
I think the consultants slipped this in there, is what I think it is, because I've asked everybody I know, and nobody's, we don't know how that happens.
The consultant.
It's what- I think it's the consultants who slipped it in, but that's my guess. Nobody's confirmed that. So I don't know.
We'll know soon.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what their rationale is, make any, as I said in my email, I have different thoughts about it,
Yeah,
but I'm not
Yeah.
voting for us to change the ordinance that exists. I'd just like to know what their reasons
yeah.
are,
I know your concerns are all valid. We basically batted them around for a couple of months trying to figure out, well, and partly the energy committee's focus was, well, we'd like to have solar, so I didn't want to eliminate it.
Oh, yeah.
So where can it happen?
Sure.
And we talked to the developers, we talked to three developers, and basically said, where are the areas that, you're looking at, and, where could you possibly do this? And it's actually kind of limited, because they can only do it if there's a three-phase power line within a fairly close distance to the spot, which means, right off of 196, right off of 201, maybe off of Middlesex, and that one worked. But the next one that was going to be near on Hunter's Farm was nixed because of the cost. They were.
Oh, did that end up not happening?
That's not, well, it's.
Or
It was something like $5.1 million they wanted in order to upgrade the infrastructure for a 5 megawatt array, and it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. So,
What was that term you used? It has to be near a power line that's a.
three phase.
Three phase?
Yeah. It has to have enough capacity, basically, and then three-phase power. Yeah, and so anyway, so that limited it. So that was one of we kind of felt more comfortable with that, because it was like, well, they're not going to be putting it way out in the middle of Ward Road or something like that, because it's just not practical. It's just costs way too much to run the wire.
I think right at where they've been putting them up, like in Augusta, right where the clover leaves are.
Yeah.
Those are like perfect spots for them, because you look at those places and it's like, what a waste of space.
Yeah,
You know, and if animals go out there and get trapped, they get across traffic. If you put a solar array out there, it'll just keep things, keep animals out of there and generate electricity.
yeah, exactly. I agree. Those are perfect. So anyway, okay, so I'll just submit a comment that says, you know, we're not sure, you know, about this. We'd like to know why this was.
I think that's a great idea.
And then we'll go from there. I don't want to miss the window of, you know.
Yep. I mean, as soon as I hear back, you know, from Sky, you know, we'll probably shoot you guys an email, but I would definitely still, it's like totally aside from that, I would submit the feedback. Sure.
I'm going to submit a comment about electric charging requirements. They're kind of, I think they're kind of weird.
Because I haven't looked at it
It's
yet.
not a bad idea. It's a great idea, but it's just like, if you do the math, you end up like with, you require 2.5 chargers for like the small, or something like, I forget the numbers, but I was just like, what? How do I figure out how many I'm really supposed, does that mean I have to have 3, or does that mean I'm allowed to have 2? You know, it was just kind of like the numbers didn't make a whole lot of sense. It was based on percentages or, yeah, anyway.
I mean, that's the stuff that they're looking for.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how many chargers does this mean, and for this size lot or for this number of parking spaces, and it's just like, what? How do I figure this? So anyway, I'll submit that comment. That's another.
Thanks. Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Did you already submit what you had come up with on the subdivision ordinance? Getting rid of the standard subdivision?
Yes, I did. Well, I did.
And going with the conservation?
I didn't do that as a feedback item. I did go to one of their meetings and propose that
so
they
that's
look
good.
at that. Yeah, and I don't know if they've actually talked about that or not.
The CPIC, I'm not sure.
Probably not. Yeah, so yeah, I will probably, I don't know if that's a good feedback item, but I may just put it in there just so they have it recorded. But yes, I went to a meeting and we talked about, you know, the various different options, like, you know, requiring open space. And one of the things that has changed, which is actually kind of nice, is that currently, if you're developing in R3, you get a choice of, you know, traditional subdivision, an open space subdivision, or a large lot subdivision. And they added, I think this is maybe the consultants again, because nobody at CPIC knew about this, but in fact, they said, no, that's not a change. It's like, yeah, it's redlined, so it's definitely a change. Is that if the property is already in the open space taxation or tree growth, then it has to, you have to do an open space subdivision if you're going to develop it. Which kind of is nice in a way. I mean, because a lot of the land that we want to preserve is actually in tree growth. So anyway, actually it was
Talk about a recipe for people wanting to get out of the open space tree growth. I mean, I think I don't know what with tree growth, if you get out of the program, let's say you're in that program and you eventually wanted to sell your land and something wasn't developed, you have to pay a fee.
Yeah, you have to pay a
get
substantial fee.
to get out of it, to do a traditional subdivision.
Yeah.
Example you gave.
Yeah, and it's the same with open space or farmland. So
Yeah.
you really it costs you to do that. So
unfortunately, those, you know, people signing up for those programs doesn't necessarily go from generation to generation. You know, someone that's interested doesn't mean that the heirs are gonna be interested in that. They might want to sell it. Oh, you can't get a lot of money, and then someone buys it and realizes they can't develop with it.
yeah, right, so, because it's
Yeah. Oh, interesting ad though.
Anyway, I just let's comment, but I don't know. I'm you know, I'm supportive. I doesn't support that because I don't know. There may be some pushback. Maybe it was actually, I might be wrong. It may have been farmland and open space. Anyway, I'll check it out again. But so I think that was it. Updates. I'm trying to think of what I've been basically all summer working trails. So, I mean, multi-use trails. which actually looks like, the trail may, depending on who gets into the legislature, transportation committee. It looks like the Murray Trail may actually get approved as a trail, which means we can remove the tracks. And so the line that goes up to Gardner, basically along the Androscoggin, there may be some future in that. I don't know how quickly that. I mean, basically, once we are allowed to remove the tracks, the next question is how are we going to fund it? So, and we're looking into that. Actually, the Department of Transportation is encouraging the towns along the route to apply for what's it called? Village community partnerships, which is their kind of like improving like pedestrian facilities in village areas. And so anyway, the MCED or whatever they're called these days, Mid-Coast Council of Governments, thank you, is working on that with Richmond and actually Topsham, I think, is already working on a grant for the community center that actually could be connected to basically the bike path would go under 196, or the trail would go under 196 and connect to where they want to put the community center. So that may all fit together as an add-on to that grant. So anyway,
I heard about that.
yeah. Well, that's all I know. Anybody else have any updates?
Yeah, I'm just not really related to this group, but just Ray Pierce is going to be doing, was actually approved at the last select board meeting, a study looking at water and sewer extensions to various parts of Topsham. It's basically from 295 this way up, toward the middle school and up in that area, the Crooker property, and across up to like Ivanhoe. We had done a study 20 years ago. Mostly that was just west of 295 up to like Ivanhoe and serving that area mostly for commercial purposes back then, 20 years ago, and nothing's happened. So the town TDI wanted to update the study to look at, what it would take, what's changed in the past 20 years within the water and sewer district, and what it would cost. Because obviously there's a significant number of millions of dollars to do what they would want to do. And do they want to say, okay, well, maybe we'll just do this little bite-sized chunk to encourage development in this area. So we're going to be doing that study for the town, looking at that, just not really related to TCC, but just figured. And again, it's within kind of the grove areas.
Yeah.
We're not running sewer lines all the way to Bowden.
Right.
That's not feasible, and we pay for it anyway.
There isn't enough population really to do that.
So yeah, for those of you who don't know, there is no sewer on the other side of 295. It ends at the intersection of Crooker. So it wouldn't get up quite to where you are. You're still where you were before. Jesse, yeah. So I mean, we're just looking at going basically to where 201 crosses, basically to that extent. It wouldn't go over 295 on 201. It would be just looking at going over 196 crosses to serve that commercial land that's over there.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but anyway, that's just an update from.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought it was just the part that's crossing 295. But
no, they wanted us to. Well, we didn't really look. I don't know that we really looked at the Crooker parcel before.
Right.
Or some of the infill areas around the annex properties, heading up toward 201. So the studies area is a little bit bigger than it was the last time around.
That makes a lot.
Because the thought would be, it's a big deal to go under the highway, and that's a big expense. So maybe it makes more sense just to do something on this side and allow for some growth and commercial development on this side in areas where there's surfaces or there easily could be extended surfaces. So
that makes sense, actually. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. Anybody make a motion to adjourn?
Wait,
Okay.
thank you, Victor and Angie for watering the tree.
Sure thing.
Chris is next. Obviously this week,
I haven't been out yet because it's been raining every day.
yeah, we got enough rain that we don't need to go this week, but if we don't have rain, more than an inch of rain in a week, we go out and water.
Okay.
And if you walk behind the library, there is a rain barrel and you can just fill up the watering can that's back there, and usually I do like two dumps
Yeah.
of the watering can at a time from the rain barrel, and it should be full after all the rain we just got, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it actually, even during the really sort of dry spell there in the beginning of July, I don't think that rain barrel got below half.
Yeah.
It was dry at my month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I brought my, which is fine, but
oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I had to
Oh,
do that
that's-
too in the spring. We had the springtime one and there wasn't any rain in it yet.
Oh,
Because I was out there too one time when the garden crew, Dana and
Sarah.
company. Sarah, Dana, yeah, Sarah and Dana and company were out there watering. They had watered the other trees, and there was still plenty of water. But that was one of those weeks where it was really hot and humid for a while. I actually went out twice. I did, yeah, it was one week when I went out twice, and I'd sort of shortened it like every 5 days for a period there. And then of course the last week I wasn't here, so I didn't do any watering.
looking good though.
It's okay.
It's
Are you
looking
going
good
to-
though. So our efforts are paying off. The tree looks happy. So thank you everybody for doing that.
my kids have a long time checking on it every week. Seeing how it's looking, check with the tree.
Yeah, actually, when I first went out there, the other white oak that Sarah planted a couple of
Did
years,
not look as happy.
it didn't look very happy. So I actually started, I was watering it too.
Nice job.
Because I was just like, oh, this poor tree. But I only had to do that a couple times, and then it picked up. And I think actually the garden crew sort of were watering more heavily towards the end there. So. But anyway, yeah, it's a pretty good size watering can. It's a couple gallons at least.
Yeah, I think it's a 3-gallon can, so.
Can, yeah. So actually, if you I found that basically if you do more than 2, it just runs right off into the grass. It doesn't really soak in anymore. Unless it's extraordinarily dry, or you do it very slowly. So, so two is probably enough. And then anyway, but hopefully.
Shayna, you don't need to mention the whole Wright Pierce thing in the minutes. That was more of an FYI. I was just trying to come up. I don't think that's not really stuff that pertains to the TCC. I just wanted people to be aware, so.
No, thank you. No worries.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Well, done before 7.
I know, it might be a record for us. Thanks for zooming me in. Hope everybody's doing well.
Yeah,
Me too.
yeah.